Hey, what's up? It's me. It's gonna be some lawyering now. How's everyone doing? Finally gonna get to finish this game. I'm gonna do the other two games later. But for now, we're gonna finish this one. It's Shork time. Shork lawyer? Are you a lawyer? If you're a shark lawyer, you have to tell me. Otherwise, it's encharkment. Let's do this thing. Wife boy, I mean, that's kind of like a lawyer. Ooh, absolutely fucking... I don't know why. It seems like OBS's volume thing is like... What's it called? The meter? It's way more sensitive since this last patch. It's very odd. I don't know how much later. Few weeks down the road, few months down the road. It all depends on how I feel. That's kind of how we do this channel. Just by how we feel. Let's put the mouse over here and press the A button. Episode 5, Rise from the Ashes, Final Day Trial Ladder. February 25, 1206. District Court, Defendant Lobby Number 2. Sorry, Edgeworth. I didn't mean to get you in trouble. Huh. Don't worry about it. This is my problem, not yours. I hope I'm not interrupting anything, pals! Oh, I guess I am. I'll come back later. Wait, Detective Gumshoe, what is it? Court cases do sometimes go on for months when they get complicated. Not in this universe. They can only last 3 days. You got a lot of nerve, pal, making a detective run all around while on duty. And to top it off, you call me here. I've seen happier people at funerals. I take it Lana's having you run errands again. Now, let me tell you, this is the last time, pal. I'm gonna open a Coke real quick. Oh, I almost got it open without the mic hearing it. Ah, so close. Let me tell you, this is the last time, pal. Yeah, she asked me to give you this if there was a break in today's trial. Evidence law? Edgeworth was talking about this just the other day. You must know the 2 rules of evidence law. Rule 1, no evidence shall be shown without the approval of the police department. Is that right, Mr. Wright? It seems so. He said it after all. You could at least study some evidence law, really. I have a pop guard that might help a little bit. It's just hard to find a place to install it. The chief prosecutor also wanted me to give you a message. A message? She said if you're planning to take him on, you're gonna need this book. Him. I guess I'll need to give this book a thorough read. Hey, Bad Road. It doesn't look like that book will do you any good now, though. All that's left now is the chief prosecutor's sentence. That's where you're wrong, Detective. Huh? Haven't you figured it out yet? Why I'm still sitting in the prosecutor's seat? Despite all these allegations being thrown at me. Mr. Edgeworth! The real trial today hasn't begun yet. What? What else is there left to do? Your credibility's been all but ruined with this forged evidence you were unaware of. Emma Sky found out she unwittingly caused a man's death, and here I am recapping the story up till now. And now, you're telling me you want to do more? You gotta be kidding me, pal! You're missing the point, Detective. Lana didn't murder Detective Goodman. She merely stuck a knife in his dead body. That means the real killer is still out there. What? And we're gonna expose him, no matter what it takes. This case has hurt too many people. It's time to bring it to an end. I'm gonna turn down the volume on the game just a tad. February 25, 1252, District Court, Courtroom number 9. Not to be confused with Mambo number 9. Court will now reconvene for the trial of Ms. Lana Sky. Mr. Edgeworth? Yes, Your Honor. The Inquiry Committee is planning to impose harsh penalties for your actions. Thank you for the news, Your Honor. Yes, well, normally this is where the prosecution calls forth a witness, but, this isn't easy to say. You see, there's some concern that you, Mr. Edgeworth, may have, struck a bargain. You think I may have manipulated the witness. I didn't say that. It's just, you see, everyone's been talking and... Very well, Your Honor. I have a solution. Solution? That being the case, the prosecution will allow the defense to call forth all further witnesses. What? But there's no precedent for what you're proposing. Undeniably, this is an unusual arrangement, but a very effective one. It would prove that I haven't struck any deals with the witnesses. Well, Mr. Wright, what do you say? Unbelievable. Edgeworth has found a way to continue the trial. Very well. The defense accepts the prosecution's proposal. Then it's settled. The defense may now call forth the next witness. Mr. Wright. Yeah, both sides call witnesses. You do realize this is your last chance. If you call the wrong witness, this trial is as good as over. The defense calls. The time's finally come to bring out the real murderer. I mean, it's Damon, right? And the only other person it could be is Angel. And I don't think it's her. Well. Damon Gant. The defense calls Damon Gant to the stand. Damon Gant? What does he have to do with anything? As the defendant's partner 2 years ago, Mr. Gant has first-hand knowledge of the crime. I feel we should hear what he has to say about it. What happens if you call Goodman? Oh no. As luck would have it, he should still be in the courthouse. He would also be the least likely to have been manipulated by me in any way. Wouldn't you agree, Your Honor? True. All right. Bailiff, please escort Mr. Gant to the stand. Shit, I hit the wrong button to mute and then made a big snort. I'm so sorry. Witness, please state your name and occupation. What is this, some kind of practical joke? I was just on my way to lunch. Your name and occupation, sir. Worthy, are you sure you want to do this? Your name and occupation. So, you want to play hardball, eh? But please, Mr. Gant. Fine. My name's Damon Gant. I'm the acting chief of police. Now then, Chief Gant, the court requests to hear your testimony. Oh, righto. What's with the grim face? First, let's clear up this SL9 incident. Oh, you mean the time when Lana's sister murdered that prosecutor? Personally, I think it's been made pretty clear already. There are still some things unaccounted for. Oh, like what? Like the role you played in all of it. Son, either you're very brave or very foolish. You are aware, of course, that a police chief has all kinds of weapons at his disposal. Weapons? Sure. Take my testimony, for example. I don't have to give it if I don't want to. What? Is that true? I'm afraid so. The chief of police has the right to refuse to testify. Why? If no one else does. Hey, Andy. Of course, such an action carries with it certain risks. Don't worry, I'm not here to hinder your trial. Just remember, if this turns out to be a big waste of time, don't say I didn't warn you. Very well. The witness may now begin his testimony. SL9 incident. As I recall, Neil and I were questioning him that day. To make a long story short, we slipped up. That power outage didn't help either. When I went to my office, I found Lana there. Apparently she'd already arranged the crime scene. As you can see, I had nothing to do with the forgery. Is that when Doc was arrested? Him? He was lying on the floor unconscious. When Emma sent Neil flying, it seems Doc bumped his head. I see. Everything seems pretty clear-cut, like I say every time. If the police chief has the right to refuse to testify, I'd better hit him hard and fast. Like a hedgehog. As I recall, Neil and I were questioning him that day. As I recall, a ceremony was held at the police department that day. Yes, that's right. I guess you could say I'm a workaholic. After winning his award, Neil was all fired up. That's probably what spooked Dark and made him run away like that. Was the defendant Lana Skye also present in the room? I don't quite remember. At the very least, she wasn't there when Dark ran for it. To make a long story short, we slipped up. That power outage didn't help either. So the two of you ran immediately after him, right? That's right, but Dark made it to the elevator first. So Neil and I split up. He went upstairs and I went down. I guess you could say he got lucky. What's this about a power outage? Oh, that. The elevator stopped all of a sudden and I got the shock of my life. Well, probably not as shocked as Neil was when that knife went into his heart, though, eh? That is not funny. When I went to my office, I found Lana there. Could you tell us what you saw? It was a shocking sight. Neil and that serial killer were lying in a heap on the floor, all tangled together. Dark was also lying collapsed on the floor. Yes, apparently he hit his head and was knocked out. Next to them were those two poor girls, Lana and Emma. Lana was cradling Emma in her arms. Looking back at it now, she must have already known what her sister had done. Apparently, she'd already arranged the crime scene. How can you know that? Because of the victim's body. It had already been moved. So that means you found the body near Lana's desk. That's right. I think you said earlier, it was my suit of armor that really stabbed the prosecutor. Yes. Anyway, as you can see, I had nothing to do with this forgery. So you're saying that the forgery had already taken place by the time you arrived at your office? That's exactly what I'm saying. I can understand how Lana must have felt, but moving a body and hiding evidence are inexcusable no matter what the circumstances. Is that how it really went down? Staring at the witness won't do you any good, Mr. Wright. If you're going to stare at anything, you'd be better off staring at the court record. Worthy, always the smooth talker. But which piece of evidence ties Gant to the forgery? Lana did admit to forging evidence. That can't be the whole truth. Somehow I've got to link Gant to the incident. All right, let's take a look at... Alright, as I recall, Neil and I were questioning him that day. Make a long story short, we slipped up. The power outage didn't help either. When I went to my office, I found Lana there. Apparently, she'd already arranged the crime scene. Okay. Now let's take a look at what we have available. There's the attorney's badge. Goodman's ID. The King of Prosecutors trophy. Edgeworth's knife. Of course. All along. The autopsy report. Goodman's note. Need to get to the stuff that actually has to do with, like, the case we're talking about now. So 9/11 is written on the tag. It seems to be more evidence from that incident. Well, that doesn't help. Evidence locker, unstable jar, Emma's written in blood on the surface, Marshall's fingerprints, security video, SL9 incident files. Take a look at those. Victims, head prosecutor Miles Edgeworth, witnesses Lana and Emma Skye, executive investigators. Well, that doesn't help. Died from blood loss in under 10 minutes. Weapon found in wound was missing the tip. Single stab wound piercing heart and lung. There's Emma Sky's prints. Here's the full list. Oh, I can't even look at the actual evidence list. Alright, that's all we got. Anyone have any ideas? It just says the stuff we already know. Things that were found in Gant's safe are the cloth and the piece of the jar. Both of which point to Emma currently. Yeah, but he's using that to blackmail Lana as the thing. I guess it's worth a try. No. Your Honor. Oh, I used the wrong statement. Oops. I gotta actually look at the statements, don't I? Come on, Justin. Just come up. You're an ass. Reload. Oh, absolutely. Which means, yeah. This is the one that it's gonna... This is the one that it's gonna contradict. Yeah, there we go. Yes, and quit digging on the pillows. If you really had nothing to do with the forgery, then how do you explain this? What's that? And what's that on? Handprint? Chief Gans, your explanation, please. I don't know. You tell me, son. Huh? My dear Writo, don't you know the second rule of evidence law? Uh-oh. Not this again. Evidence law. Ah! Rule 2. Unregistered evidence presented must be relevant to the case on trial. Tell me, how is that rag relevant to this trial? It appears the defense was not prepared. Guess it's too early to use this piece of evidence. Please accept my profound apologies, Chief. Would you mind giving the defense another chance? Well, okay, I'll do it just this once. But only because you asked, Udgy. Thank you. I assure you the defense is terribly sorry. Ha ha ha. Yeah, sorry I didn't nail ya. Alright, that didn't work. Like, the pot's the only other thing I can see. There's no evidence that they didn't happen as he said. This is the only one that I can contradict, but neither is relevant to the current case. No, the pot could be, because it was... Well, let's see. It was present during the altercation, at least. You claim you had nothing to do with the forgery, but I'm afraid that's a claim you can't back up. Explain yourself. Several pieces of evidence were found in your office. Take this jar, for example. Well, that's the blue badger you showed us earlier. Yeah, that's very true, Felbury. A piece of this jar was discovered in your safe. Not only that, but the evidence list I presented earlier was actually found inside your desk. It was found where? You see, Chief Gant, these articles of evidence uncovered in your office are both concrete proof that you also played a part in the illegal investigation. Chief Gant, what's the meaning of this? Oh, here's a defense attorney who may even rival Worthy. So you admit to it then, that you were involved in the forgery. Oh, me? Or do you mean you? Me? Why would I have anything to do with it? Well, you were the one who snuck into my office when you found this evidence. Prosecutors aren't the only ones capable of forging evidence, you know. Gaston, stop. You want me to move the pillow? Gaston, you need to lay down. You can't just keep turning in circles forever. Oh, he's pissed off that there's another pillow. There. You're good. You can get in your little nest now. See? Nothing in the way. Lay down. You're good. You're good. Lay down. Alright, now he's laying down. That's a good boy. Defense attorneys can do so too. Isn't that right, Righto? He kept those pieces of evidence because they were allowing him to blackmail Lana. Because that would prove what Emma had done. However, Detective Gumshoe was present during the investigation. Worthy, my boy. Not even detectives are exempt from the law. Rest assured, Dick will receive his due punishment. What? If Detective Gumshoe's salary drops any further, he'll end up paying to work. Yes, well, in light of the detective's presence, please give us your testimony regarding these pieces of evidence found in your office and their relationship to the forgery that took place at the crime scene. My. Kids these days no longer know how to put two and two together. Evidence and forgery. Let's see, what was it now? A jar fragment and a list. For all I know, you could have planted them in my office. Anyway, you can't prove when those pieces of evidence were discovered. If they were found after Dark was convicted, then they're worthless. There's no reason I'd participate in a forgery. Rearranging the crime scene wouldn't help me out in any way. Mr. Wright. Yes, Your Honor. When investigating the crime scene, you should have been more careful to observe protocol. You do understand that I'm the chief of police, right? There will be consequences. Ugh. Indeed, I believe I'll press charges so you won't make the same mistake again. My apologies, Chief, but would you mind waiting until tomorrow for that? Today's, you know. All right, Udgy. In return, though, I know, that place, right? Huh? What are these guys, telepathic? Great. The judge and the judge and the chief of police are in bed together. For all I know, you could have planted them in my office. I'd appreciate it if you'd stop making these ridiculous allegations. Yes, you do have a point. You wouldn't have the guts to do something like that. What? I'll have you know, back in the day, I once broke into a cattle ranch and tipped Mr. Wright. What are you saying? Anyway, you can't prove you didn't carry in the evidence, can you? If you have proof to the contrary, you're gonna need it later. Later? What are you talking about? What else? I'm talking about when Righto's prints are found. Yes, if they're found inside my safe, that would prove his investigation was illegal. Ugh. I've never faced anyone as slimy as this guy. Anyway, you can't prove when those pieces of evidence were discovered. What do you mean by that? This is all purely hypothetical, of course. But suppose I did place those items in my safe. Such an act wouldn't necessarily constitute forgery. If concealing evidence found at a crime scene isn't forgery, I'm not through speaking yet, Wrighto. It all depends on when the evidence was discovered. If they were found after Dark was convicted, then they're worthless. Are you saying this jar fragment wasn't discovered in the initial investigation? It would appear not. After all, it wasn't listed on the evidence list. For all we know, it could have suddenly materialized the day after Dark was sentenced. Oh, and wouldn't that be convenient? Right? The chief is talking about a possibility, so long as you can't rule that out. Your remarks, however clever they may be, will only succeed in wasting time. Tell me something I don't know! Come now, Wright. Think about it. Yes, but in his case, they represent something different. There's no reason I'd participate in a forgery. How can you look me in the eye and say that? Because I'm innocent. Remember, who was it that murdered Neil? I'm not sure I care for the word murder. But in the end, the person responsible for Mr. Marshall's unfortunate demise was Emma Skye. In his case, they represent that he thinks the entire world is there to serve him. He sees the world through rose-colored glasses in a very different way. Well, now do you see? Rearranging the crime scene wouldn't help me out in any way. Really, Chief Gant? At the very least, there's one very large benefit you'd reap from all this. Oh, I wasn't aware. What is this benefit? That would, of course, be the position you have. Chief of Police. Oh! The resolution of the SL9 incident secured your promotion to Chief. That in itself is sufficient motive. Oh, oh, that's a good one. Huh? Do you really think I'm that incompetent? What do you mean? Even without that case, I was already in line to become the next chief. The resolution of the SL9 merely sped up the inevitable a little. Is that true, Edgeworth? Yes. He was going to be made chief anyway. Be careful when pointing that finger, or you might wind up being the one pointed at. So that means there's only one possible motivation for you to commit forgery. If you didn't do it for yourself, then you did it for someone else. Don't be silly, Worthy. You know me better than that. His beard's very origami, huh? There's only 3 people I look out for. Me, myself, and I. There, it's out in the open now. Gee, would you mind if I changed my testimony a little? By all means, please do. I wouldn't be anyone's accomplice if there was nothing in it for me. Alright, so now we have to find something that points to someone he might care about, or... Okay, I'm so sorry. So, what about these folks? Would he be their accomplice? That's all I can think of, really, to go with this one. If anyone's got a better idea. No music change. Alright, I guess we'll just press him on it. Nothing in it for you. Sorry, but the only person I care about is yours truly. That girl, Lana's little sister, was it? If you think I felt sorry for her, you'd better think again. You're right. You don't feel sorry for anyone. Be tough on crime and tough on people. That's how I was raised. You seem to be lax enough on yourself. Oh, that's a good one, Worthy. Huh. Could there have been something in it for him? Given his selfishness, would he have helped someone out? I honestly want to say no. See if that just loops back around. I can't think of how it would help him. That means he wouldn't have helped out anyone. Relax and take a deep breath, Mr. Wright. Try to think outside the box. After all, that's what you're good at, isn't it? Think outside the box? I never thought I'd hear him tell me that. The question isn't who would the chief help. It's who would ask the chief for help. If someone did that, he'd be sure to find a way to benefit from that person. It appears the defense has nothing more to say. Chief, would you please repeat your testimony from the beginning? Alright, so I have to press him on it and say that the accomplice is Lana, right? True, you might not help out anyone for their sake. But if it would benefit you, you might decide to assist someone. Mr. Wright, it appears you're positively determined to portray the chief as a nice man who likes to lend people a hand. That's not what I mean. Very well then, who's the person you believe Chief Gant may have helped forge evidence? Chief Prosecutor Lana Skye, the defendant. I believe it's quite obvious in light of the circumstances. Emma Skye fell victim to an unfortunate series of events. Who would want to help her more than her own sister, Lana? And as for Chief Gant, he'd also have a reason to help Lana if she asked him to. That reason, of course, is self-profit. Self-profit? What do you mean? After the SL9 incident was resolved, Lana Skye was appointed chief prosecutor at the prosecutor's office. The person who arranged this job change was you, Chief Gant. But how would he profit from all of this? He'd be able to use the chief prosecutor as his puppet. Essentially, he would acquire unchecked authority over all investigations. Do you mean to tell me that despite the chief's formidable appearance, he plays with puppets? Oh, wait. You must mean puppet as in someone forced. Never mind. Admit it, Chief. You assisted Lana Skye in forging evidence. Your motive to appoint her as chief prosecutor so you could control her. Righto, my boy, you have quite an imagination. Let me ask you something. What? Do you have any proof of this? That I controlled Lana? For example, is Lana testifying that I've done such a thing? Lana. She's keeping quiet to protect Emma. There's no way she'd testify against Gant. I'm afraid without any proof, this all amounts to nothing more than mere conjecture. Unless... That's also what happened in this incident. This incident? Which one would that be? Of course I'm talking about the murder of Detective Bruce Goodman. The chief prosecutor has been acting strange throughout this entire trial. Almost as if someone has been controlling her. Worthy, you'd better watch your tongue. I wouldn't want you to get hurt. What do you mean? What he means, Your Honor, is that Chief Gant is involved in the murder of Detective Goodman. Not only that, but the Chief is now making Lana take the rap to cover his involvement. What? Order! Order! I said order! Mr. Wright, you can't be serious! Huh? This is an affront to the highest ranking officer in our law enforcement agency. To accuse Chief of Police of blackmail and murder. That's impossible! Unless all cops are no. Your Honor, I was merely reiterating what Mr. Edgeworth said in easier to understand language. It's too late, Mr. Wright. There's no turning back for us now. It looks like he's the one who's decided to go through with this. Can you prove this, Mr. Wright? That the chief, a high-ranking officer of the law, is involved in this murder? Good question. Regardless of his rank or title, Chief Gant is just a man. The question is he a criminal? I believe the evidence will tell. I see. Now let's save here because it's going to make me pick evidence soon. All right then. Let's see what Mr. Wright's got, and it better be good. Show us this evidence that ties Chief Gant to the murder of Detective Goodman. What does tie him to the murder of Detective Goodman? This could do it. This could at least give us a tenuous thread. Because that was used to make sure that that would have been used to make sure that Edgeworth was in a specific place at a specific time. No prints. What do you think it is, Feltry? Give us a shout. List of ID numbers. Oh, that's not bad. That's not a bad thought. Sure, we'd have to prove it's his ID number. We'll give it a shot. This is the ID card list. Yes, the one that shows who entered the evidence room on the day of the crime. There was one ID on the list that we couldn't determine the owner of yesterday. 7777777. Sorry, but there's no way you can prove that's my card number. It's your number. What? How do you know that? The safe in Chief Gant's office requires a code to open. A 7-digit code. The kind of code an idiot would put on his luggage. Apologies for using that word. I felt I needed to make the reference. 7 digits? You don't mean... I'm afraid so, Your Honor. The code was Yabadab. The same as the remaining ID card number on that list. Chief Gant, you entered the evidence room on the day of the crime. Oh, wow. That's the first time we've seen him angry. He actually looks way less threatening than most characters. Order! Order! Chief Gant, what do you have to say? Nothing. The defense's search of my office was in violation of regulations.
And I will demand Mr. Wright be punished to the maximum extent of the law. But right now, this court demands an explanation from you about the use of this ID card. Chief Gant, so you admit you entered the evidence room on the day of the crime. What about it? I'm chief of police. Whether it's the evidence room or the bathroom, what's the difference? I could go anywhere I want. Tell me, when you entered the room, were you alone? I always go to the bathroom alone, as I do with the evidence room. Detective Goodman wouldn't have happened to be with you that day, would he? Of course not. Why would he be? I hadn't seen him in days. You hadn't seen him in days, Chief Gant. I'm afraid you've just undone yourself, like you do in the bathroom. On that day, you had to have met with Detective Goodman. What do you mean? The trial's purpose is to determine Lana Sky's guilt. No, it isn't, Your Honor. The trial's purpose is to determine the truth. If Chief Gant met the victim on the day of the crime, then we need to determine one thing. What transpired during that meeting? In that case, Mr. Wright, I'm going to have to ask you for evidence. Show us proof that the victim went to meet Chief Gant on the day of the crime. Well, we have that. It's right here. Detective Goodman lost his ID card on the day of the crime. Or to be more accurate, Jake Marshall stole it. So Detective Goodman filled out a lost item report. He would have had to give that report to the chief of police. Yet you're in possession of the report, which means you can't be sure if he filed it. Oh, he filed it? How do I know, you ask? Because he needed to enter the evidence room that day. He needed to. Yes, to transfer the evidence out. Oh. Detective Goodman took the form to you, Chief Gant. Then, you accompanied the detective to the evidence room. I accompanied him. Just what are you implying? I only sleep with the judge. There's no other way the murderer and Detective Goodman could have entered the room. Hold on. Let me guess what you're gonna say next. I, the chief of police, murdered poor Goodman. Exactly. But wait! The chief didn't necessarily need to accompany him to the evidence room. He could have just lent him his ID card. Yes. Now that you mention it, I believe I might have done something of the sort. Sorry, but that's not possible. According to the record, your card was only used once. Yet you showed us your ID card earlier. If you had really lent it to Detective Goodman, it would have been found on his body. No! Wow, he just turned into lightning. Chief Gant, you didn't! The murder was most likely a spur-of-the-moment crime, for no one in their right mind would choose the police department as a place to commit murder. After the murder, you contacted Lana at the prosecutor's office. Why? To dispose of Detective Goodman's body, of course. You're forgetting, Mr. Wright. that the victim's body was discovered in the prosecutor's office's parking lot. How did he manage to move it there? I was at the police department the entire day, you know. And everyone's aware that Lana stayed at the prosecutor's office after the ceremony. Everyone except me, it seems. Still, you're the chief of police. You have an entire police force at your disposal. Oh, so you think I just ordered an officer to do it? Hey, you, take this here dead body over to the prosecutor's office. I don't think so. Chief Gant, you left all the evidence we need to prove how you moved the body to the prosecutor's office. And all this time, I thought it was a useless clue just taking up space. How could the chief have moved the body? Mr. Wright, show us this evidence. To move the victim's body, Chief Gant used this. The Blue Badger! He used the screwdriver to get Edgeworth to drive the body. He put the body in the trunk of Edgeworth's car. Then had Edgeworth bring him the screwdriver. It is the screwdriver. This is how he moved Detective Goodman's body. What's that? A screwdriver? But what does that have to do with this case? Mr. Edgeworth, think back to the day of the crime. What is this screwdriver doing here? It's here because... Ah! I was asked to go by Chief Gant, no less. He told me he wanted to keep it here in the prosecutor's office. In any case, on the day of the stabbings, I brought this back here. After the ceremony ended that day, I didn't plan to return to the prosecutor's office. But you did, because Chief Gant asked you to. You mean I? The body was found in the trunk of Mr. Edgeworth's car. I think it's obvious what happened. The body was moved by that car. Detective Goodman's body was carried in the trunk of Mr. Edgeworth's car. Yes, unless, of course, you have another explanation, Chief. Why else would you have asked Mr. Edgeworth to transport evidence from a closed case? There's only one plausible explanation. To transport the body to your accomplice, Ms. Lana Skye. Order! Order! What's going on here? Is there no room for rebuttal to the defense's outrageous accusations? Think back to the photograph Ms. Starr took at the prosecutor's office. This was not a photo of the body being stuffed in the trunk to be taken away. It was exactly the opposite. It's a photo of the body being taken from the trunk. Chief Gant, please say something. I believe your time's up. My time's up? Sorry, Wright, but I'm not having lunch with the I'm having lunch with the district attorney general after this. We have to get going if we're to make it in time for the early bird special. But the cross-examination isn't finished yet. Remember what I told you earlier? A police chief has all kinds of weapons at his disposal. Weapons? Like the right to refuse to testify. I'm invoking that right now. What? That's not a right to be casually invoked. There's certain risks to be considered. So you're just going to run away after all this? Run away? Don't make me laugh, Worthy. I stabbed old Goodman, that's what you're saying, right? But if you had any conclusive evidence, you would have presented it by now. Well, You think I had Lana dispose of the body? If so, then show your proof and get it over with. I'll say it again, Mr. Wright. Damon Gange is the current chief of police. This court will not tolerate any accusations against him without concrete proof. Well, Mr. Wright? Your Honor, do you have any concrete proof? Proof that Chief Gant murdered Detective Goodman and made Ms. Skye dispose of his body. Do I have any concrete proof? Do we? I don't think we do. No, I think we gotta say we don't right now, is the thing. I certainly don't see anything. It's no use showing evidence I'm not even sure of myself. No, Your Honor. At present, I have no conclusive evidence. Huh. C.I.G. In that case, this court's forced to penalize you for your allegations against the chief. What? Here's a tip. Never gamble what you can't afford to lose, Righto. It seems that that Lady Luck was on my side again today. Okay, IG. I'll leave the rest to you. I warned you earlier, Mr. Wright. This is an affront to a senior officer in our nation's law enforcement agency. Wah! Lady Luck, Maybe we should have a word with her. Mr. Edgeworth, what do you mean? There's one lady who knows the real truth behind this trial. We haven't yet had the honor of hearing her testimony. A lady who knows the truth. Another witness! In the absence of conclusive evidence, the only other method of proof is testimony. But Chief Gant has invoked his right to refuse to testify. There's still someone else, one more witness who can answer all the questions raised in this trial. Someone right in this very room. Mr. Edgeworth, who is this person? Huh. Why are you asking me, Your Honor? Have you forgotten? The defense is the one calling witnesses today. Mr. Wright, does such a witness exist? I mean, it's Lana, right, who we're calling? We may not be willing to tell the truth, but we can't stop now. Yes, Your Honor, the defense calls forth. The defendant? Ms. Lana Skye? She was in the underground parking lot at 5:15 on February 21. Her task to dispose of the victim's body. In accordance with a certain someone's orders. Mr. Edgeworth? The prosecution has no objections, Your Honor. Very well. The court will now take its final recess for the day. In 15 minutes, we'll reconvene to hear the defendant's testimony. This court is now in... Hold on. Huh? Chief Gant, I thought you were going to eat. Listen good, Lana. He's talking to Lana. He's grooming the witness, Your Honor. I don't think you need me to tell you this, but if you accept Mr. Wright's claims, there will be terrible consequences. Like right in front of the judge, jury, and prosecution. That's right. Your sister will be found guilty for Neil Marshall's murder. This isn't good! Of course, you'd never support such outrageous claims anyway. Just something to think about. All right then. I've got a lunch date to meet. Okay. If there aren't any further objections, this court is now in recess. All right, with that, we are going to take a quick BRB. Please hit bang donate, and Taylor in the chat, I want y'all to take a look at those links. That's some important shit. There's protests going on all around the country because injustice against people of color is something that is ongoing and has been for the duration of this nation. Breonna Taylor was murdered in her home by police. Those police have yet to receive any sort of indictment for their crime. On top of that, people are fighting for their rights all across this nation. This nation that has every reason to... Sorry, I'm trying to think of a way to say that this nation should be great and isn't, but it's difficult to support that with evidence that it should be. But across this nation, people of color are fighting for their rights to not be attacked by police, to have basic equal treatment under the law. The links in the first command will lead you to places to help with the greater civil rights movement going on throughout the country. And the second command will lead you to places where you can donate time and money to help people directly affected by the death of Breonna Taylor. Please check those out, because Black Lives Matter, the lives of people of color matter, Indigenous lives and lands matter. And we need to not only convince those at the top of that, we need to make sure that they act on it as well. Just because one man is out of office does not mean that racism is over. All right, we'll see you in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere. All right, we're back. How's everyone holding up? Oh, stretch. Stretch. Controller, here we go. February 25, 2:04 p.m. District Court, Defendant Lobby number 2. Looks like we managed to stay in the game. Yeah, thanks to your help, Edgeworth. That chief, he's something else, eh, pals? Detective Gumshoe, I'm surprised to see you for some reason. I'm not a detective anymore. Oh yeah, sorry about that. Don't worry, I've already decided where to work now. At your office. My office? Sure. I'll take the place of that top-knot girl you used to work with. You mean Maya? Ugh. Still, looks like we're all out of moves now. Chief Gant's done it again. He always gets the upper hand. It's not fair. He has the right to refuse to testify. Huh. Settle down, Wright. Remember what the judge said? But Chief, that's not a right to be casually invoked. There are certain risks to be considered. Risks? What did he mean by that? It's simple. If the chief refuses to testify, the opposite also holds true. You mean he forfeits his right to say anything, too?
Oh, you mean he forfeits his right to say anything, too?
See, I hate it when it does the question marks, just that I don't know what voice to do. Emma, are you alright?
Yeah, when I came to, I was in the medical office. I've been listening to the trial from the gallery.
So she heard everything that's been going on. Emma, I'm sorry for what I said before.
No, don't be. It was the truth. You know, it's funny. I almost feel somehow relieved.
Relieved?
Yeah. Now I finally know what really happened. To think that all this time, my sister was being blackmailed by that terrible man. That large, terrible man. And she did it all just to protect me.
Ever since her appointment as chief prosecutor, everyone who knew her said she changed. Perhaps it was easier that way. Perhaps it was easier that way for her. What do you mean? What do you think I mean? To follow Chief Gant's orders, she must have shut herself up deep inside, to force herself to do anything and everything the Chief told her to do. That must be why she became so cold.
It was all my fault. It's all because I murdered Mr. Marshall.
Hey, don't go blaming yourself now. If you want to blame anyone, blame society, pal.
Chief Gant may be able to fool everyone else with his forgery, but he can't fool my memory. I remember now. I knocked Mr. Marshall into that armor.
I see. Well, we better get back. It's time for the final act.
Emma, why don't you wait? No. I'm going with you. I want to be there. When Lana tells the truth.
Let's go, Wright. It's time to end this. February 25, 2:21 p.m. District Court, courtroom number 9. Now then, will the defendant, Ms. Lana Skye, please take the stand? Ms. Lana Skye, you are the chief prosecutor. I'm sure you're aware of what's required of you.
But Mr. Edgeworth, you already know everything. You know all that I've done these past 2 years.
Please provide the court with your testimony, Miss Skye. And remember, you are under oath. We want to hear the truth.
Of course, the truth. Lana, no matter what happens, I'll always be your sister.
Now then, your testimony, if you will. First, tell us about your relationship with Chief Gant. Everything hinges on your testimony. You're the only chance we have to get Gant.
I worked alongside Gant for years. There's no truth to this blackmail theory. I fabricated the evidence 2 years ago all by myself. When I found Prosecutor Marshall's body, I rearranged the crime scene. My only motivation was to get Dart convicted. It had nothing to do with Emma.
Are you sure about this testimony?
Your Honor, I'm confessing to a capital offense. Of course I'm sure. But Lana...
If this is true, then that means Chief Gant has nothing to do with this.
That's what I've been trying to tell you from the beginning. Please, Mr. Wright, you've got to help her. She's sacrificing herself because of me.
But what if she's telling the truth?
She's not. I know my own sister.
Wait, I thought I was just thinking that. That's why it was blue and in parentheses.
Whenever she speaks stiffly like that, she's hiding something inside. Deep down, she's really screaming in agony.
Yeah, this is no time to start second-guessing myself. The defense may now begin its cross-examination.
That's right, Nick. I, too, can read minds. I worked alongside Gant for years.
How many years exactly?
Ever since I made senior detective. Let's see, I was 24 then, so that would be 5 years.
Detective Gant and Detective Sky were legendary partners. I personally saw them testify in numerous cases. She must have been good coming from the same school as Mia.
Damon Gant was a respectable detective. That's why. There's no truth to this blackmail theory.
But think about it, Miss Sky. You didn't murder Detective Goodman. You told me as much yesterday in jail.
You still don't get it, do you, Mr. Wright? Any testimony you cannot present in court is as useless as idle gossip. I stabbed Detective Goodman with a knife. And I fabricated the evidence 2 years ago all by myself.
Did you do so to help your sister?
Joe Dark was a serial killer. My sister almost became his last victim that day. I didn't want that evidence to ruin her life.
But what she did was justifiable self-defense. We're gonna bring that up this time. She wouldn't have been charged with anything.
That's not the point. She was traumatized that day all because of that creep. That's why I couldn't forgive him.
Anna. So that's why you fabricated the evidence 2 years ago?
When I found Prosecutor Marshall's body, I rearranged the crime scene.
You say you did this all by yourself?
Yes.
Would you mind telling us what you found when you arrived at the crime scene?
It seems I was the first person to discover the scene. The broken Prosecutor Award knife was stuck in the victim's body.
What?
But Prosecutor Marshall died from an unfortunate accident. That's only a situation you dreamed was possible. The reality is, it wasn't my sister who took the prosecutor's life. Fantasize all you want, Mr. Wright, but I'll never change this statement.
You mean Prosecutor Marshall wound up being killed by Dark?
Something like that.
Ooh. If that is so, what happened to the other murder weapon? Dark was carrying a switchblade knife.
Oh, that was lying on the floor a little distance away. It was probably knocked away in the struggle.
That's not how it went down. She's trying to cover up her lies with more lies.
All just to protect me.
So when you found the scene like this, what did you do? After all, this is what everything boils down to.
Yes. I broke off the tip of Dark's knife, planted it inside the wound, and moved the body.
Alright, we've got our new thing. So you rearranged the crime scene. Are you sure you didn't do this to keep Emma from looking like the murderer?
How many times do I have to tell you, Mr. Wright? Emma didn't do it. Period. So desperate to hide that fact, you're willing to risk the death sentence? She's lying. She did it so I wouldn't be blamed for what happened. In any case, as a prosecutor, what I've done is unpardonable. There's nothing I can do to make up for my actions. Mr. Wright, my sister's lying. Looks like she's determined to protect you to the end. She insists that she fabricated the evidence by herself. There's no way she could have done it alone. Got to get Lana to talk more. If she's lying, then she's bound to slip up and make a contradiction. You planted the tip of Dark's knife in the victim's wound, and then you moved the body? But why? Why would you do that? You of all people should know, Edgeworth. You've always had a good head on your shoulders. My head isn't that bad, but maybe I ought to ask for the sake of others. Why did you do that? Come now, Mr. Wright. You should be able to figure it out. Very well, let's add this to the witness's testimony. The reason Ms. Sky fabricated the knife. I knew the tip of the weapon found buried in his body would be all the proof we needed. Sec, can we add the move the body part to the testimony too? Because that sounds like a good idea to me. When you showed up on the scene, where exactly was the victim's body? It was where you deduced it was, by Chief Gant's desk. But the body was found by your desk. Why did you move it there? The reason for that is simple. Let's have the witness, something. The reason Ms. Sky moved the body. Alright, now we've got two new things. The pieces of the jar that shattered during the events threatened my plan. I broke off the tip of Dark's knife from the inside the body. Oh, I can only have one at a time. Huh. Pieces of the jar, you mean... Yes, that wretched jar you showed us earlier. In order to show that Dark committed the crime, I felt it would be more expedient to move the body. So, when you first found the body, the jar was already... Of course, it had been shattered to pieces. If you looked at the crime scene, it would be clear right away what happened. Neil Marshall was dead, and Dark was lying unconscious. In other words, the jar must have been broken during their struggle. I see. What's the matter, Emma? Apparently the jar shattered at the time the crime was committed, which makes no sense because it has the bloody stuff written on it. But I have a feeling there's more to it than that. There must be a contradiction here somewhere. Anyway, I committed the fabrication completely alone. So we've got to present the jar because it couldn't have been broken at the time that she entered the room, or it couldn't have been broken when he was thrown against the knife. Right? But it could have been broken by the time she entered the room, is the thing. Let's try it. Hey, the music stopped. Ms. Sky, I understand how you feel. You committed that crime 2 years ago to protect your sister. You mean the forgery at the scene when Neil Marshall was murdered? If that truth were to be exposed now, the past 2 years of your life will have been in vain. Even so, I'm compelled to bring to everyone's attention a significant contradiction within your testimony. A contradiction in my testimony. You testified, and I quote, "The pieces of the jar that shattered during the events threatened my plan." That's right. You have a problem with that? It's a simple oversight, really. See, a message was written on this jar with the victim's blood. Yes, the prosecutor must have written it in his final moments. Exactly so. And this is where the contradiction lies. In order for the victim to be able to write his message on the jar, it must not yet have been broken before he died. He couldn't have written Emma's name on a shattered jar.
Order! Order! Your Honor, it would appear more information is needed in regard to the jar and its bloody message. We may be missing something critical here.
Something critical?
Chief Prosecutor, it seems you're as in the dark as we are about the truth towards which you're headed.
What?
Just tell us exactly what you saw. We'll piece together the information to arrive at the truth, much as we piece together this jar. Very well. The witness may now continue her testimony.
Jar and message in blood. I immediately noticed the blood traces on the jar. It was dark in the room, and I didn't have time to check it out. To be safe, I wiped away the blood. The fragments were large, so I'm sure I got them all. All I could think about was wiping them clean before they were discovered.
You mean you were the one who wiped away the message in blood?
I wasn't chief prosecutor at the time. She didn't think Dark was the real murderer. That's why she tried to erase the real evidence.
Very well. The defense may now begin its cross-examination.
Jar and message in blood. I immediately noticed the blood traces on the jar. So the jar was already broken. It's a miracle that thing hadn't broken earlier.
It certainly looks as feeble as the defense's case, but not as feeble as the judge's judgment. You were an ace detective who never missed a detail. Do you really expect us to believe you didn't investigate what was written on the jar pieces?
Normally I would have. But it was dark in the room and I didn't have time to check it out.
So you didn't know your sister's name was written on the jar?
No. If I had known, I would have gathered all the pieces and ground them to dust.
Well, that helps my case.
Honey, you do that for me?
Seems you two might make up yet.
Anyway, I had just barely had enough time to move the body as it was.
If someone happened upon the scene, you'd lose your chance to erase the evidence. You must have been in a hurry.
I was. I knew I had to destroy the evidence before anyone came.
This is rather shocking.
Rather shocking, I said. That's irrelevant. To be safe, I wiped away the blood. I'm afraid this action of yours reveals what really happened.
What do you mean?
That's right, sharking. If you really thought Dark killed Prosecutor Marshall,
You wouldn't have wiped away the blood.
what else could I have done in that situation? Anna, now we're taking it back. Taking it back. I only had a few moments. There wasn't enough time for me to do anything else but gather up the pieces. The fragments were large, so I'm sure I got them all. But how could you see with the power out? It should have been pitch black in that office. A detective is always prepared, Mr. Wright. Have you ever heard of a flashlight? Even now, I always carry a pocket light and a camera with me. Even I carry a body of emergency luminol wherever I go. I never miss anything. I got every last piece. All I could think about was wiping them clean before they were discovered.
So you illegally rearranged the crime scene.
Yes, I don't have any excuse for my actions. I'm sorry, Lana, I didn't know. I treated you so badly all this time.
It's not too late. There's still plenty of time to make up. After we've gotten to the bottom of this incident. No doubt this day will leave a permanent stain on the history of the prosecutor's office.
More contradictions have surfaced in her testimony.
Yeah, most people don't use their phones as phones all that much is the thing. They're more like multi-tools. Your sister's really putting up a fight. She must really care about you. They're cyber decks is what we have. We have cyber decks. They are not phones anymore. They are cyber decks. And I'm calling it that from now on. She must really care about you. Still, she's not doing this the right way. I think I finally figured out the contradictions in her testimony. There's one final possibility that might turn everything around. So that's the one that got added. So that's the one we have to worry about. But there was a piece missing for some reason. Cyberdeck is a... Oh, fuck, I forgot the name of the game. Shadowrun. It's a Shadowrun thing. And it is effectively a smartphone. Only, you know, magic, too, because it's Shadowrun. It may be a Gibson thing originally. But I think most people nowadays will know it from Shadowrun. Miss Sky, I believe this jar conceals a truth even you were unaware of.
What?
We found the final piece of this jar in Chief Gant's safe.
In the chief's safe? But how?
Knew it! She really didn't know! There's something even more disturbing about that final piece. There was still blood on it. Like a lot of blood. But the witness just testified that she gathered every last piece and wiped the blood off of them. Yes, which leaves us with only one explanation. Oh god, I gotta sneeze. On the night Prosecutor Marshall was murdered, you were not the first one to show up on the scene. Chief Gant got there before you. But could the defendant have simply missed a piece? I'm afraid that's unlikely. So William Gibson, as Xenon is saying, is a cyberpunk author. I think he's a really bad writer, but he is generally considered the originator of the cyberpunk genre. Just his writing sucks. I'm afraid that's unlikely. The pieces are too big for anyone to miss, let alone an ace detective. Lana Skye, ace detective. That may well be, but everyone makes mistakes. Even I once wasted an entire day looking for my dentures and they were in my mouth all along. Ha! Can you believe it? Have you forgotten, Your Honor? When this witness arrived at the scene, the jar was already broken. Oh, that. There's no way a name could have been written on a shattered jar. Another person discovered the scene prior to the witness. I hope you're implying this person was Chief... You're not implying that this person was Chief Gant. At the time, he was looking for Dark downstairs. Besides, even if he was there first, what? The question is, if he did arrive there first, why did he hide that fact for 2 years? Well, Your Honor, can you answer us that? No! The judge doesn't have freak out emotes. Wait, I'm not the one on trial here. Damon Gant arrived at the crime scene prior to the witness. He proceeded to break the jar and purposefully hid one of the broken pieces. Question. What is this action called? Fabrication of evidence. But why would Chief Gant do that? In light of what happened afterwards, isn't it clear? What happened afterwards? Discovering the scene, Lana Skye believed her sister Emma killed the victim. Determined to help her sister, she sought Gant's aid. Lending her his aid, Gant helped her create evidence that incriminated Dark, sparing Emma, and therein lies the reason. The reason why Ms. Skye became the chief's puppet. Wow, she just bit her thumb off. No, I did it on my own. Please, sis, stop trying to protect the chief. I can't watch you suffer anymore for my sake. No, you didn't. It wasn't you, Emma. You didn't kill anyone. Don't believe anything Mr. Wright says. Defense attorneys make up the most foul lies to defend their clients. Foul lies? Imagine that coming from my own client. I guess you do seem the type who likes to twist the truth. Wait a minute. What if we're still smack dab in the middle of Gant's trap? Is something wrong, Mr. Wright? Lana may be right after all. What do you mean, Wright? So you do tell foul lies then, Mr. Wright. Ms. Skye, please testify once more. But if evidence was fabricated behind your back, then Emma's accidental killing of Prosecutor Marshall might also be a lie. But I do remember knocking over Mr. Marshall. Ms. Skye, if you will. I can't. There's nothing to be afraid of anymore. This cross-examination may not change a thing. However, there is a possibility that it will, if you tell the truth. Very well. I'll testify about what I really saw. All right. The witness may testify once more for the final time. Actual crime scene. New from Kenner. When I arrived, hey, it's the remix. I found Mr. Marshall's body impaled on that suit of armor's sword. Emma and Dark were lying unconscious on the floor nearby. When I saw what had happened, I thought she did it. That's why I erased all the evidence that linked her to the murder. I had Chief Gant help me remove the body from the sword and carry it. But if it all really was a fabrication, Emma might be innocent. Unbelievable! The body was impaled on the armor's sword? You were the only one who saw that. If only you had proof. Actually, I do have proof. I gave it to Mr. Wright just this morning. What? To me? It's a picture I took of the crime scene as I encountered it. I thought it might be needed. I don't remember receiving a picture like that. Lana must have known.
See, Mr. Wright, she really does have faith in you.
Very well, Mr. Wright. Please present this picture. I don't remember receiving any pictures from Lana.
Lana said she gave it to you this morning, right? I seem to remember getting something from her then. Let's check that evidence again. There must be a picture in there somewhere.
Well, the only thing we received from Lana today was this. And did she give us the SL9 files? No, we got those from, so it's gotta be in here, right? Gotta be inside the book. That's all I can think of. Turn something over. Ah, here we go. That's not what it looked like last time we checked it. Theo. Hey, there's a picture here!
Oh my. This is the actual crime scene.
No other detective saw the crime scene like this, because I contacted Criminal Affairs only after I'd rearranged everything.
Mr. Wright, that piece cut from his vest, could that be
Cloth we found inside Chief Gan's safe? What's this? Which means he'd already taken it.
It's the handprint, isn't it? That cloth. It had fingerprints on it. Whosever fingerprints those are must be the real murderer.
What? But those fingerprints, they're yours, Emma.
Why are your lips turning all purple, Mr. Wright? I've lost my ability to read your mind.
Anyway, let's get on with the cross-examination. So long as you tell the truth, we should be able to flush out the real murderer. Very well. The defense may now begin its cross-examination. Actual crime scene. New from... Yeah, I already did that. When I arrived, I found... Come now, Udgy. This is the poorest excuse for a trial I've ever seen. Chief Gant! What, now you want to make me out as the bad guy too? If so, I'd like to put in a word or two in my defense. I'm afraid it's too late for that. What? You already declined to testify. That means you forfeit your right to make statements of any sort. This must be that risk we were talking about earlier. Just sit back, relax, and enjoy the sound of the noose tightening around your own neck.
So what? You think I'm worried? Sorry to disappoint you, but I don't need to make any statements.
What do you mean?
The evidence will do all the talking for me. Even if I can't testify, I can still present evidence.
Yes, that's true. Wait, you mean you still have some conclusive evidence?
No, I don't. But someone does.
Someone?
So, what's your excuse, Righto? Why have you been keeping quiet about it?
I absolutely wasn't. In fact, I showed it earlier.
You do have something to show us, right? Something that proves who knocked over Neil Marshall, causing his death. Conclusive evidence that leaves no room for doubt.
Is this true, Mr. Wright? I show that piece of evidence now. Emma's sure to be made out as the murderer. Mr. Wright, if you have any more evidence, present it now. And if you try to conceal anything, you'll be the one appearing before the Board of Inquiries. I'll just take any excuse to threaten you, really. What do I do now? I'd better think this through carefully. I can't afford to make the wrong decision. Should I present that piece of evidence? The one that shows who really killed Prosecutor Marshall? Yes, Your Honor, I do have further evidence. All right, the time's finally come to show it to them. Those prints have got to be the Chief's. Now then, let's see this conclusive evidence. The evidence that shows who actually murdered Prosecutor Marshall. I'm tempted to just try and show the picture first. I'm gonna do that. No, I can't. I can't show them that yet. Why not? You know which item to show. Mr. Wright, if you're not sure, then think it through again. How can you use that evidence to your advantage? What do I do now? I'd better think this through carefully. Yes, Your Honor, I do have further evidence. At the very least, that cloth was gone before Lana got there. It had been cut cleanly off the vest. It's a piece of leather cloth. Yes, it most likely was cut from the victim's vest near his chest. What's this? There's a big handprint on it. I'm angry about that. Surely it must have been left on the cloth by whoever shoved the victim into the sewer. What? Whose fingerprints are on this? I'm sure Wright was checked, haven't you? Well, whose are they? They're Ms. Skies. Ms. Emma Skies. What? They're mine? So I really did do it? See, I told you it was conclusive. But this was found in your safe. That means it's possible you forged it. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't remember any cloth in my safe. You really expect me to believe that? But give it up, Mr. Wright. It's over. You shouldn't have presented that. By presenting that evidence, you tied Emma Sky to Neil Marshall's death. No! It appears we have our killer. No! No, no! Everything hinged on that. In the end, Lana alone was found guilty on all counts. Ouch! Jesus. So I don't have anything to show then, huh? Yeah, that's the end. That's how it ended. Jesus, Xenon. Alright, let's try can't show evidence. Your Honor, I don't have any evidence I can present at this point in time. What? You lie, and now... Chief Gant? You opened my safe. I know you took what was inside. The conclusive evidence. I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't open any safe. Mr. Wright, why don't you show them? We found it together. Oh, I see. It's because you know the truth, don't you? You know whose fingerprints are on it. That's why you won't present it. What are you talking about, Chief Gant? Can't you figure it out? Take a good look at this picture. See the victim's vest? Notice anything odd about the chest area? It looks like part of it's been cut out for some reason. You mean you have this in your safe? What? That means you, the chief of police. have been concealing evidence. This is going to be the biggest scandal in the history of the police department.
Impressive. To be honest, I didn't think you had the gall, Righto. Well, I can't just let you pin me up as the murderer. I'll tell you what really happened.
What? You mean you admit to it?
Geez, lots of bots tonight, huh? I was the first person to arrive at the crime scene that day. It then occurred to me that I could use the situation to control Lana. So you really were manipulating her? I knew Lana. If I made it look like the blame lay with her sister, then when she saw the scene, she would ask me for my aid.
So you assisted Miss Sky.
I told her to arrange all the evidence. I had her plant the knife tip in the victim's body and move the body across the room.
And I ended up using that evidence to get Joe Dart convicted.
When I tampered with the crime scene, I hid 2 pieces of evidence. This was before Lana arrived at the scene, mind you.
2 pieces of evidence? You mean the items in your safe? But why?
For instance, of course. Or insurance, of course.
Insurance?
I was sure my plan would work. But it's always best to be prepared for the worst. I wasn't about to let anyone blame me for a murder that girl committed.
You mean you were calculating that far ahead while forging the evidence?
What do you take me for, a fool? I didn't make police chief by dumb luck. See this jar fragment? I hid the most legible part of Emma's name. I didn't expect Lana to go and wipe the blood off all the pieces.
But if you fabricated all the evidence, what's to say you didn't fabricate the message on the jar, too?
Some people just don't know when to quit, do they? That's why I kept one more item for insurance.
You mean that piece of cloth?
Come on, Righto, cough it up already. I know you haven't. What are you waiting for, Mr. Wright?
So you admit to it then, Chief Gant, that you were hiding the cloth you cut off the victim's vest in your safe.
Yes, I admit it. I didn't want to have to do that, being chief and all, but it's a lot better than being portrayed as a murderer.
Well, Mr. Wright, what do you have to say for yourself? Just a moment ago, you said you didn't have any evidence you could present.
Foolish move, Righto. You should have known it then before, or you should have shown it then before it was too late.
No, I did that and it gave me a game over. It's been a long battle. But the moment of truth has finally arrived. As long as I don't mess up here, victory is mine. I can't show evidence. No, it's too late to show the evidence now. Besides, even if I did, it'd just expose that poor girl's fingerprints. Right, think hard over the circumstances. Circumstances? I'm talking about then and now. There's one major difference between the two. Weren't you waiting for that difference? So, Edgeworth figured out my plan.
Mr. Wright, this is your only chance.
Your Honor, I do have evidence to present now. All right then, let's see this conclusive evidence. Did you know the game would end if you presented the evidence, or was that a surprise? That was a surprise. I was honestly thought it would just loop back around like it usually does. Let me verify this once more. On the day of the crime, you personally cut out this piece of the victim's vest.
Oh, yes. At last, you finally brought it out into the open.
There's a handprint on this piece of cloth. Your Honor, the prosecution requests that be immediately sent to the lab for analysis. This handprint on the leather, there must have been a strong impact for it to have been left so clearly. You mean, it could not have been forged. It must be authentic, conclusive evidence.
Ho, 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 ho. You're as slow on the uptake as ever, Worthy.
What?
Think about it. Wright had all this time to present the evidence. Yet he was reluctant to do so. Why would that be?
You mean you already know? You know whose fingerprints are on that.
Mr. Wright, do you really know?
Whoever the fingerprints belong to must be the real murderer. Whose fingerprints are they? Very well. I'll tell you. Should be okay now. Everything's proceeding as predicted. The person to whom these fingerprints belong to is... Emma? Emma Skye?
What? They're mine?
I'm sorry, Emma.
But why? Why didn't you tell me?
Oh, you're really something, Righto. You knew this girl did it all along, and you still tried to pin the murder on me. So it's true. Tragic, but true. This girl really did shove Prosecutor Marshall to his death.
How could you? You monster!
Miss Skye, you knew whose fingerprints those were all along, yet you acted like she really didn't. Miss Skye, it's not over yet.
What?
I said this trial isn't over yet.
But I'm afraid it is over, boy. Not only this trial,
but your career, too.
You purposely concealed this conclusive evidence.
That, my friend, is a serious offense.
I'm looking forward to pressing charges after the defendant is convicted. I'll have your badge, boy. What's the matter? Cat got your tongue? Aren't you gonna tell us how it feels? How it feels to be the one who single-handedly turned a poor little girl into a murderer?
Well, before I do that, there's just one little thing I gotta clear up.
Oh? And what's that?
Who really killed Prosecutor Neil Marshall? What? Chief Gant, you're absolutely right. This piece of cloth proves who the real murderer is. Who killed Neil Marshall, you ask? It was Emma Skye, wasn't it? I'm afraid that's not possible. See, this piece of cloth contains a critical contradiction.
What? A contradiction? What is this fool babbling about?
I'm talking about a contradiction. One that proves who the real killer is. Mr. Wright, this piece of cloth, What could it possibly contradict? Chief Gant, your tyrannical reign ends here. Behold, the piece of evidence that contradicts this cloth. Whoops, I didn't mean to hit X. Oh, it's fun watching it squirm, Righto. I meant to hit A. But to look at the picture, but I hit X instead. So let's not do that. So it's the photo, right? Because there's no blood on the leather. And what exactly is this supposed to be? This is the picture Ms. Sky took. Take a good look. See where the piece of his vest was cut out? Yes, his shorts showing underneath. It's hard to make out with all the blood on the vest, though. Exactly my point. His chest is soaked with blood. It's only natural. His lungs no doubt were punctured, blood poured out his mouth. Oh, but that piece of cloth. Wait, there's no blood on it. Ah! Since Emma Sky's fingerprints are on this cloth, there's no doubt that she shoved the prosecutor aside. However, Mr. Marshall was not impaled on the sword at that time. No, this is nonsense. Now then, Chief Gant, let me ask you something. Prosecutor Marshall was not impaled when he was shoved aside. He most likely hit his head on the ground and was knocked out. If so, then tell me, who could it have been? Who could have arrived at the scene before Ms. Lana Sky, picked up the unconscious prosecutor, and impaled him on the armor's sword? Then, to make it look like Emma was responsible for the prosecutor's death, said person proceeded to write her name on the jar with the victim's blood. A jar that they broke on purpose to leave behind a clue. And make Lana believe her sister did it. Remember what you admitted only moments ago? That you personally cut out this bloodless piece of the victim's vest? Ironic, isn't it? Through the very act of creating insurance, you proved that you were the murderer. No! It's finally over. Ah, that was close, Righto. You almost had me. Sorry, but you'll have to do better than that. I refute your allegations. What do you mean you refute his allegations? You see, that piece of cloth is illegal evidence. Order! Order! What nonsense is this? Illegal evidence can't be used to convict a suspect. Remember, Ajit? Earlier, old Righto here concealed that piece of cloth. So then what's your excuse, Righto? You do have some conclusive evidence, don't you? Your Honor, I don't have any evidence I can present at this point in time. Well, that's true. The defense did refuse to present evidence. At that moment, that piece of cloth ceased to be legal evidence. But that's not fair. Did you actually think you could best me in court? It looks like the last laugh's on you, son. I'm afraid Mr. Gant's claim is legally correct. Oh no, Xenon, we've created a time paradox. Well, Mr. Edgeworth? True. Illegal evidence cannot be used to convict a person. Assuming, of course, that the evidence is indeed illegal. Well, Mr. Wright? It seems, at last, the time for me to reveal my plan has finally arrived! Mr. Wright, do you admit to it? That you purposefully and illegally concealed that piece of cloth? I admit I refused to present it at one point. Ha ha! So the evidence is illegal. No, it isn't, Mr. Gant. Huh? It's not that I didn't present evidence then, it's that I couldn't. What do you mean you couldn't? There are certain procedures involved when presenting evidence. No, Udgy, don't listen to his lies. He's nothing but a coward. They can't really believe. There's only one issue left to be resolved in this trial. Is this evidence legal or not? Very well. Let us settle this once and for all. Earlier, you refused to present evidence. If you can prove your conduct was not in violation of the law, do so now. This is my proof, Your Honor. Evidence law. What's this? I've done my homework too, Chief. Indeed, Emma Sky's fingerprints were on this piece of cloth. However, at that point in time, this was merely a piece of cloth and nothing more. What? You see, it's written right here in the book. The second rule of evidence law. Rule 1, no evidence shall be shown without the approval of the police department. I found this piece of evidence myself inside your safe. It goes without saying I did not have approval from the police department. Rule 2, unregistered evidence presented must be relevant to the case on trial. And here's the crux of the matter. See, at the time, it was impossible for me to prove the relevance between the cloth and the SL9 incident. What? What kind of nonsense is this? You want relevancy? Just take one look at this picture and... Sorry, but can you recall when was the picture presented? That was shown only a few moments ago. No. He's right. At the beginning of today's trial, that piece of cloth was still meaningless. The person who gave it value as evidence was you, Damon Gant. You yourself confessed to a certain truth. Let me verify this once more. On the day of the crime, you personally cut out this piece of the victim's vest. Oh, yes. No! It was then that you approved this cloth as conclusive evidence. Yes, you, the chief of police, personally approved this cloth. The only person who could have cut this from the victim's vest is the one who stood before Prosecutor Marshall in his final moments. In other words, the real murderer. And there's only one person who that could be. Damon Gant, the killer is you! I knew I should have gotten rid of him. That good-for-nothing scum. For 2 years, he's been snooping around the department trying to get something on me. Crimes are being committed every day, yet he insisted on hounding me. Well, your crime wasn't exactly petty. He wanted to reinvestigate the case. He recruited Angel Starr, then convinced Bruce Goodman. Detective Goodman. That's right. If the evidence is transferred, I'll lose my only chance to find out the truth. Please, you gotta help me. Goodman turned him down, as he ought to. Still, Jake Marshall didn't know when to quit. He stole Goodman's ID card and tried to take the evidence. Goodman came to me that day. Wanted to file a lost item report. I went with him to the evidence room. Then all of a sudden he decided to speak out. What are you talking about, Goodman? Can you please reopen the investigation, Chief? We can't transfer the evidence out. There's too many questions left unanswered. He opened his evidence locker, and as he was taking the evidence out, he said, "It's not too late. I'm gonna hand all this over to Marshall." Well, to be honest, I was a bit taken aback by his words. I had a bad feeling when he came to see me, but I never thought he'd bring up SL9. That's when I saw it, that accursed knife. I couldn't just pull it out. Doing so would have only led to more blood, making it near impossible to hide your crime. Even so, the blood was just pouring out. I didn't know who might stumble in, so I hurried to wipe it up. I was worrying so much about the floor I didn't realize my fatal mistake. The bloody handprint on Detective Gumshoe's locker. I used to be known as the crime computer, but everyone has to start somewhere, I guess. I was too nervous. I had no business doing any of it. Then you put the body in my car. I'm sorry, I couldn't think of any other way to move it. I broke your trunk, but what's the big deal? You make a lot more than us detectives ever will. Ugh. Leaving the prosecution's car aside, how? How could you get Ms. Sky involved in all of this? Well, she had as much to lose as I did if the truth came out. So you took the evidence from Detective Goodman's locker. I felt bad for having to do it. I also didn't have the time to pick and choose what to take. So, you left the jar fragments in the glove. Yeah. Looks like I was better off being an investigator of crimes than a committer. They all did their best to get in my way. I'm gonna hand it to them. They do their jobs well, much to my dismay. Fake evidence doesn't hold up very well upon close examination. You must have known that. Tell me, Worthy, why do you stand in court? Me? You despise criminals. I can feel it. You and me. We're the same. One day you'll understand. Oh, believe me, you will. You're just one man. You'll see what it really takes to bring him down once you try to go it alone. Well, looks like it's time to say goodbye. Oh, Udgy? What? Looks like we'll have to cancel that lunch date. Sorry, old friend. I'm sorry too, Damon Gant. I knew you as you used to be, long ago. You were once a fine investigator and an example to others on the force. I'm sorry to learn that you're no longer that person.
Those days are gone now, Udgy. Thanks for all the memories, though. Don't worry, you'll be fine. Now you have Righto here. And Worthy. With these two around, you can't go wrong. In fact, you can hear them already. The melodious sound of a new beginning. He's really trying to make it sound like he was trying to teach everyone a lesson about morality or something. What a piece of shit. There's two things I want you to understand. Yes? First, your sister never hurt anyone. Second, Damon Gant betrayed you from the very beginning. You see, Ms. Sky, you no longer have any reason to keep silent. You're right. When this trial is over, I'll tell everything. All that I've done these past 2 years, from the time I had Gant help me forge evidence up until today.
So, it seems all the questions raised in this trial have been answered anyway.
I'm sorry, Miss Sky.
I couldn't get you out of all your trouble.
My, what a high standards you have. For a rookie. I can see why Mia thought so highly of you. Who knows? A few years from now, you just might make it to the top. I owe you my thanks, Mr. Wright. Miss Sky. And to you too, Mr. Edgeworth. You've suffered every bit as much as I have over these past few days. Believe me, I know how much of an ordeal it's been for you.
It was nothing. No.
Liar! I was worried the pressure might break you. And yet, you rose above it all and guided Mr. Wright to victory. You've done well, Mr. Edgeworth.
Stop it! I only did my job. In light of this case, it seems a good self-examining is in order for all of us, especially me. I was friends with that creep. Miss Sky?
Yes, Your Honor.
You're innocent of murder. However, although the chief blackmailed you, the fact is you still acted as his accomplice. A trial will be scheduled for these crimes at a later date.
Yes, I understand, Your Honor.
Is there something amusing about all of this? Why are you smiling?
It's been a long time, Your Honor. A long time since I felt free of these heavy chains.
Well, this trial's gone on far too long already, am I right, gamers? Regarding the charge of murder, this court finds the defendant, Ms. Lana Sky, not guilty. That's all. This court is adjourned.
February 25, 5:03 p.m. District Court, Defendant Lobby Number 2. At long last, it's finally over.
Emma!
Why the long face? I'm sorry your sister didn't get completely off the hook, but at least she wasn't convicted for a murder she didn't commit. No, that's not it. Just now after the trial ended. I can see why Mia Fey thought so highly of you. I owe you my thanks, Mr. Wright. And to you too, Mr. Edgeworth. You've suffered every bit as much as I have over these past few days. You've done well. You know, I did my best too, but Lana didn't say a single word to me.
Oh, I'm not interrupting nothing, pals! Oh, I guess I am. I'll come back later. Wait, Detective Gumshoe, what is it? This is a really strange recurring joke. You're doing this on purpose, aren't you? Making a detective run all around while on duty, and to top it off, you call me here? I've seen happier people at funerals. Hey, lighten up, pals. I'm only kidding.
Oh. Are you here because of my sister again?
Nah, not this time. I came today because of, you, pal.
Me?
That's right. Thought you'd like to see someone.
Lana.
Should you be doing this? She's still under arrest, you know. Well, I won't tell if you don't.
Emma, I owe you an apology. It's okay, sis. Don't worry about it. That day 2 years ago. Was the first time in my life I ever panicked. It was all I could do to keep myself from screaming. All I could think about was keeping you from getting wrapped up in that mess. Sis, I asked Aunt to help me cover up the truth. I thought I was doing it for your sake, but now I realize I was wrong. I changed after that day. I had to. It was the only way I could make it through the past 2 years. I knew how much I was hurting you by distancing myself, but I couldn't bring myself to tell you what I did. I was scared. Scared that you'd look at me with those eyes of yours. Or smell me with that nose, or hear me with those ears. I was scared of how you'd react if you knew. But sis, you were only doing it for me. No. Huh? I turned my back on you that day. In hiding what I believed to be the truth, I was deceiving you.
Can you imagine if superheroes in like comics realized this, if they had these startling revelations? We'd have a lot more interesting stories.
Sis,
I'm such a fool. It took me all this time to realize it. Emma, I'm so sorry.
but sis, you don't have to apologize. I'm happy now. You're happy. Of course. You know, sis, I always knew that one day you'd come back. And now you have. Emma?
No one can change the past. The only thing we can do is strive to make up for our mistakes. Why must we make up for our mistakes, you ask? Because in so doing, we can find the way back to our rightful path. And it's from there that we can move on toward a brighter future. At least, that's what I felt watching the two sisters make up.
Mr. Wright, Mr. Gumshoe.
Me?
Thank you both for all that you've done. I'm sure we'll meet again someday. Isn't that right, Edgeworth?
Edgeworth!
Stop hiding and come over here.
I was under the couch cushion.
Where was he hiding?
I just came to say, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Edgeworth.
Right, well, I'll be going now.
Mr. Edgeworth, I hope you don't blame yourself for what happened. We were the ones who acted corruptly, not you.
It's too late for me. No matter what anyone may say, I realize today that I can't correct my mistakes.
Mr. Edgeworth.
Not only that, I don't even trust myself anymore. Chief Gant was right.
You despise criminals. I can feel it. You and me, we're the same.
One day, you'll understand. Oh, believe me, you will. You're just one man. You'll see what it really takes to bring him down once you try to go it alone. I do despise criminals. I plan to dedicate my entire life to fighting them. But in order to fight crime on my own, I'd need a weapon. It's scary, but I've known that to be true for quite some time now. But Edgeworth, who knows? Given enough time, I might have tried to pull something like Chief Gant did. And that thought terrifies me. That's why I can't continue on as a prosecutor.
Edgeworth, don't you understand? Damon Gant and your mentor, Manfred von Karma, were both the best of the best when it came to fighting crime. But they both made the same mistake. You said in order to fight crime on my own, I'd need a weapon. That may be true, but think back to today's trial. You weren't alone. You were working together with Mr. Wright, and because of that partnership, you were able to present evidence that otherwise would have gone undiscovered. Isn't that right, Mr. Wright?
Huh? What? Oh, sorry, I zoned out there. What is this, a pop quiz?
Come on, Mr. Wright, show him what Lana's talking about.
Evidence, huh? Something that neither Edgeworth nor I would have been able to find on our own. The screwdriver. The evidence list? Oh, that's a good one. It's a real good one. Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered Evidence. Very nice. Ah, shit.
That's the picture I drew.
Our counterattack began with this. I'm certain that there's like several items that work there. There usually are for these. You had one half of the evidence list and I had the other. Apart, we wouldn't have been able to completely restore Emma's picture.
That didn't happen by chance, Mr. Edgeworth.
It's time for me to go.
Mr. Edgeworth.
If you'll excuse me, there are still some loose ends that need wrapping up. Take care, Chief Prosecutor. Sayonara, Space Cowboy. Edgeworth, what will you do now? Well, whatever you do, just remember. You can let what happened kill the prosecutor in you, or you can let it help you grow. In the end, that's up to you. I know. Seems I owe you my thanks too, Wright? But what I face now is my problem. Edgeworth, I'll be waiting for you in court. Farewell.
I'd better be going too. Okay, but I'll be by to visit soon. It seems we both have a lot to learn and catching up to do. Here, this is a little something for you. Scientific investigation. It's the first book I ever bought. Study it well. Thanks, sis. I will. Is it a single page like the evidence law book? And so another case came to a close. As for the sisters, I have faith. Faith that their lives have only just begun. And as for me, well, I think it's time I started on a new journey of my own. A journey to rediscover myself. Well, don't go trekking off just yet, pal. Huh? What is it, detective? There's just a little matter to be resolved about the chief prosecutor. See, she isn't supposed to be out of jail like this. But I thought you said it was okay. Yeah, it might be okay with me, but the folks at the prison is a different story. Huh? Basically, I had to bribe a guard in order to sneak her out for 30 minutes. Believe me, it wasn't cheap neither. Huh? Way to go, detective. I didn't know you had a wild side. Yeah, well, see, Mr. Wright, he is the one who'll be footing the bill. What? Huh? What, you think I could afford it with my salary? You gotta be kidding me, pal. What? Huh? Huh? Thank you, Mr. Wright. You're the best. Why is it? I suddenly feel like I want to scream. Hey, I got an idea. Why don't we all go pay it off together? Yeah, that's a good idea. Come on, guys. Let's go. True end. I arranged for a friend of mine in Europe to take care of Emma. I hope she'll be pleased to study under a top coroner. As for me, this affair has pretty much ended my days as the prosecutor's office. Still, I'll manage to find my way back to the field somehow. Then, I'll be able to investigate crimes together with Emma. This was excellent. This chapter had some problems, but that's okay. It's still a very well-written story. Yikes! I thought I was a goner for a moment there. In the end, though, they overlooked my unauthorized investigation of the chief's office. If we penalized you any more, it'd be worse than firing you. Yep, that's what they said. It just goes to show you can't shake me off that easy. I think technically this isn't even Emma's first appearance. I mean, chronologically it is. My new mission is to guard the main entrance and take care of Billy. Can you believe it? I've been demoted to a security guard. My partner's keeping an eye on the entrance for me today. I'll show them no. Someday I'm gonna make detective. Yes, sir. Then I can just be just like that Dick Gumshoe. High hopes, big dreams.
I'm the Blue Badger. Look into my eyes. My hypnotic gaze and my beautiful dance will whisk you away to a wonderland. Ow.
What is it? Can't you see I'm having a showdown with the steak lunch partner? Miss Star managed to sneak this into me. She's been seeing one of the guards, it seems. Well, cowboy, looks like you did it. You even gave Bambina back her smile. Can you make sure Billy and the gang get their water?
Looks like we won't be seeing each other for a while. As a farewell gift, I put a new meal on the menu, the Right Way lunch. The top layer tastes as bitter as defeat, but the bottom layer is sweet as victory. Kids seem to dig the turnabout theme. It's a hot seller around exam time. Just make sure not to eat it backwards. Hey, Alma. You missed like the whole end, but the VOD's still there.
I'll never forget what that young defense lawyer said after the trial. Let's see, what was his name again? Mr. Left? Anyway, he said he's been doing something or other for how many years? Well, anyway, I've got another trial to get to, so I better be... Huh? Oh, no! I forgot my gavel! Sorry, gotta go! Hey, Riz. Just saw you too.
Nothing soothes the soul like fresh country air. Oh, wrong kind of awe. Still, sometimes I do miss hearing you and your objections. Still, I can't go back until I'm a full-fledged spirit medium. Mystic Maya, afternoon training's about to begin. Coming! Well, see you around, Nick. Video chat.
Mr. Edgeworth. Mr. Edgeworth. I brought you your tea. What's going on?
Hey, remember him? The most unimportant character? Thanks for coming to see me off. I can't believe I'm going to Europe. Thank you, Mr. Wright. Thank you so much for everything. I'm a little sad, but I'll be alright. Whenever I want to see Lana, all I have to do is open this book. Or video chat. Aww. Adorable. And you. Thank you, all Capcom player. Bum, 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 bum. Oh, I didn't do it. So that was Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney. There's 2 more games in the series that I'll get to sometime next year. Get to at least the first one sometime next year, right? Thank you everyone for coming. I'll figure out what I'm doing next week over the course of this week. In the meantime, let's go over the schedule real quick. Tomorrow is going to be Sue and Mox playing Monster Hunter World. That's pretty wild. That's going to be exciting. Thursday will be Alice and Christy with Doom Eternal.
Friday will be Katie with Luigi's Mansion 3. Yeah, there's 7 more games in the series, but there's 2 more on this disc. There's 2 more in this collection. Friday night, Alice will be trying to continue with Xenoblade. All this is, of course, conditional on our internet working at any given point in time. Because, well, y'all know that story. It's gonna be a while before things are back to relative normalcy. I guess this was normalcy 2 years ago. 3 years ago. Which, well, that sucks. Then Sunday is Community Day, and Monday is Christy, who has not revealed, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm doing a one-off. It might be another dungeon or something. It'll be something weird.
Alright, you heard it here first, folks. If you couldn't make it out, she said she's gonna do a one-off. Maybe Enter the Gungeon, something weird, one of those. And yeah, Tuesday I'll be back around to me. Oh, and Monday night will be Alice doing more Xenoblade. Alright. That's it. That's it for the stream. You can check out our schedule at truckcommunity.neocities.org. That includes our partner channels. Andy is taking a hiatus, but Xenon still streams on Saturdays, and I'm gonna keep poking Bad Road until he streams. Riz streams every week or two. So that's there's good shit there. Riz, you should really submit some kind of schedule if you can. We'd really like to have something set in concrete if possible. And yeah, there's also B on there. B occasionally streams. It's rare, but it's always a treat. And I'm probably missing someone. My brain's not getting there. We've also got a YouTube. We've got a YouTube that's listed at youtube.truck.community. Thousands of hours of content, going a good distance back, years even. What are we at? Like almost 2 full years now as affiliate, and then like another year before that. So this is the good shit. This is the good shit. Yeah, talk to us on Matrix. We'll figure out what we can do. All right. Yeah, see y'all soon. Good night, everyone. Objection.